Welcome back. On the second part of this series, I talked about Undertale's story and development. On this video, to close off this Undertale analysis, we'll walk through the ruins, the first area of the game, and look at how it introduces the player to Undertale's world by playing with expectations. I'm gonna mention things from very late in the game to compare with the beginning, so, as usual, consider this your spoiler alert. The game starts with a storybook-style opening telling the backstory of the game's world. At first glance, it's a basic, generic fantasy plot. Monsters and humans live together, but one day there was a war that ended with the monsters being forever sealed in the underground. So far, it's reasonable to assume that, like 99% of sad fantasy plots, the monsters are evil and rightfully sealed in the underground. The figure leading the monsters even looks remarkably like Ganon from the Legend of Zelda series. This is followed by a child falling down a hole into said underground. This is where the game actually begins. Before naming the fallen child, the game very quickly shows the player the commands, followed by leaving the player free to control the main character on a silent map. After walking through the first door, the player meets one of the most pivotal characters in the game, Flowey. Flowey, the flower. This character is designed to look as comically unthreatening as possible. It is literally a cartoony flower. Flowey welcomes the player to the underground in a way that would be expected on a small children's cartoon, while at the same time introducing the battle system. Flowey's dialogue is presented at the same time the player is allowed to acclimatize with moving around on the bullet board, with arrows shown close to the player's soul to make it clear that movement is possible. He then says that love is shared on the underground by magical friendship pellets, which he then urges the player to collect. And this is where we have the first twist. Those, obviously, aren't friendship pellets at all. When the player touches one of them, their HP immediately falls to 1, and Flowey reveals his true colors, stating his philosophy that down there it's kill or be killed. If the player realizes Flowey is lying and dodges the bullets, he tries again a few times, getting more and more frustrated and eventually just dropping the act. This quick introduction and betrayal immediately sours the underground in the player's eyes. As far as we know, up to this point, everyone here is like Flowey. Before the player can be killed, however, they're saved by the arrival of Toriel. Toriel is the personification and to extent a parody of tutorial characters, in particular, Fi from the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, hence her name. She is an extremely motherly figure, and treats the player character as if they were her own child. On the next room, she introduces the player to the puzzles found in the Monster Kingdom. Puzzles are a very important part of monster culture, which is nothing but a convenient plot excuse to fill the whole game with puzzles that would otherwise be completely insane. Toriel then walks the player through a few simple puzzles. As a jab against games that overdo their tutorials, she literally holds the player's hand through one of them. After walking the player through the second puzzle, Toriel further introduces the battle system through a battle with a dummy. This is where the game first mentions the sparring system. Toriel urges the player to strike a conversation with the dummy, teaching them the basics of the process of sparring enemies. The player can also attack the dummy and defeat it, which prompts Toriel to reinforce the idea that you are not supposed to kill the enemies you encounter. Also, defeating the dummy does not give out experience and does not count as a kill, meaning a pacifist playthrough is still possible. In the following room, the player gets the first random encounter, against a simple frogget. After a single turn, Toriel stares the monster down and it flees. After said puzzle which Toriel literally holds the player's hand through, she comically challenges the player to walk through an empty room alone, after which she finally leaves. From this point onwards, the player is free to move around and the game begins for real. The first few rooms have some NPC froggets who explain the game's concepts in more detail, such as the intricacies of the sparring system. There is also immediately a room where the player can get some health recovering candies for free, which can be very useful on the first few battles. As I've mentioned back in part 1, the monsters found in the ruins are very simple to defeat. The Frogget attacks with very slow flies that move one at a time, or with a slow frog that jumps once with plenty of preparation time. The Whimsun barely even attacks, instead spawning either a circle of flies with a very generous radius around the player, or 2 lines on the sides of the board. It effectively reduces the size of the map, but nothing that really makes it dangerous. It can also be immediately spared without any action. The Lux attacks with bigger but very slow moving projectiles. The Mygosp, much like the Whimsun, doesn't directly attack the player, but instead spawns fly-like bullets on the sides of the board. This reduces the player's maneuverability, but not by much. When other monsters are defeated or spared, it also does not attack anymore. The Moldsmal attacks with slow, snow-like projectiles. It can also be immediately spared. The Vegetoid attacks with a ring of vegetables that deal low damage. It can be spared by asking for lunch, which prompts some of the vegetable bullets to turn green. Green bullets heal you on touch, and that's the first situation where this is encountered. At this point, most players will probably have killed a few monsters on their first playthrough, thanks either to thinking of Undertale as a normal RPG, or to the not-so-friendly picture of the monster world given by Flowey. In both cases, the game clearly wants you to think of it as any other game and level up a bit. After all, why would you even want to suffer through everything at level 1? The few puzzles found in the next rooms are all very simple, if not a little too annoying due to the excess of pitfalls that require backtracking. Halfway through the ruins, the player meets the game's first boss, the ghost Napstablook. Napstablook is another rather easy fight. He attacks with his tears, which are notably harder to dodge than anything so far, but deal low damage. Blook can be spared after being cheered on a few times, but he also has the distinction of being one of only 2 monsters in all of Undertale that cannot be killed when fought. When you get his health bar low enough, he reminds you that he is a ghost, and therefore incorporeal. This ends the fight without having the player kill anyone, sparing them from having to kill an important character so early. The game is essentially giving players some extra time to come with terms with the sparing mechanic. Finally, at the end of the ruins, the player is reunited with Toriel and welcomed into her house. She is once again very openly acting as if she had just adopted a child, and this whole situation just feels incredibly unnerving. Between Flowey's quick betrayal, Toriel's loving attitude, and every other monster trying to kill you, whether they realize it or not, the player can't help but be suspicious of everything that's going on. Toriel gives the child a slice of pie, and immediately starts making plans for their education. At this point, you have no option other than eventually asking how to leave the ruins, prompting her to leave the room and go downstairs. This brings us to the first real boss, Toriel herself, forcing the child to prove they're strong enough to survive the dangers of the underground. She attacks with fire magic and is much stronger than anything else in the ruins, something that ensures the player will have a grasp on the game's battle system going forward. Kind of. If you check her stats, they are insanely higher than anything found so far. Toriel is really holding back. She's just trying to test the child, not kill them, something that is reflected on her battle. Once the player has 2 or less health points, she simply stops really attacking. A more nervous player might freak out and lose, but if you just stay still from this point onwards, the fireballs just harmlessly float to the sides of the board, allowing the player to freely attack. Here's the thing though, you cannot spare Toriel the same way every other monster so far has been spared. Just talking to her won't do the trick. There is one Frogget NPC who mentions that some monsters might need to be repeatedly spared, and this is where this hint is put into use. The game is clearly trying to make the player think there is no way of sparing her. So far, lowering the health of most monsters worked as a way of sparing them. When you get Toriel's health low though, she suddenly takes much more damage and drops dead, cryptically warning the player about Asgore. The nice goat lady then leaves the player to walk a silent path out of the ruins. This unexpected sad moment is a punch in the gut that frames the rest of the game, and this mysterious Asgore, mentioned in all caps and red letters, is set up as the big villain for the game. Following the path forward, the player meets Flowey once again, who teases them about Toriel's fate, reaffirming his philosophy of kill or be killed. Once the child has left the ruins, the game drops the title once again and the player sets out on their adventure. Toriel's death can serve as the driving force for the player to spare the other important characters in the game, as it was for me. Jumping a little forward, if the player still hasn't realized that bosses can be spared, the eventual fight with Papyrus makes it as clear as humanly possible. But, of course, that is not the only option. When teasing you for having killed Toriel, Flowey says it's not like you could go back and change things. But as a matter of fact, you do, by simply loading the last save. Going back to the fight with Toriel after having killed her once changes the dialogue when you try reasoning with her. The game's narration mentions that you saw her die, and wonders if there is a way to spare her. If the player repeatedly tries to spare Toriel or simply does not attack, she eventually stops attacking and lets them leave the ruins. It's actually really simple to do, given that she stops attacking when your health is low, but it is still a completely different method from any monster before. After sparing Toriel, Flowey again teases you and wonders how long you can keep up being nice. If you did kill her once before, however, Flowey also mentions how he went back in time to spare her, revealing that he is aware of your ability to save the game, and hinting that you also might not be the only one with this power. With the fight against Toriel, Undertale either teaches the player how sparing every boss can be a much more complicated puzzle than sparing a normal enemy, or leaves them with a gut punch of a sad moment that stays on the back of their mind for the rest of the adventure. The ruins are a very interesting introduction to Undertale's world. The player starts most likely expecting to be about to face a world full of generic RPG monsters, and the game plays around with that expectation using Flowey and Toriel's contrasting attitudes. This can leave the player intentionally confused about what this strange world is, effectively making the player as prejudiced against monsters as the in-universe humans were when they sealed the monsters in the underground. Of course, after leaving the ruins, you learn that pretty much everyone around is really nice, and the whole situation is a horrible tragedy. Even the mysterious Asgore is nothing but a sad old man, but that change happens very gradually throughout the game. Flowey might not have been able to kill the player character, but he is able to taint the player's attitude, making them end up murdering a few monsters that would otherwise be spared, and making the rest of the game feel increasingly bittersweet, as the denizens of the underground prove themselves to be basically nice and friendly. I believe this might be part of the reason Undertale resonates so strongly in an emotional level with so many people. And that ends my time with Undertale, at least for the foreseeable future. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you're interested, you can watch my series on Pokemon Red and Blue, or subscribe for more video game analysis. Come back next time for the first part of a new series about a certain classic platforming title. Thank you again, and goodbye.